Hi, folks. This is Rhee with the Paw Print Animal Rescue Podcast. Before we speak with the amazing Bergen Verdu, want to remind you that we have a store where you can buy some fun t-shirts. Go to thisispawprint.com/shop. It'll bring you to our TeePublic store where you can find some shirts to show off in front of your animal rescue colleagues. Also, we're looking for some co-hosts. Maybe you want to be a co-host for one episode or several episodes. Maybe you want to be a podcaster, but are too afraid of the commitment. Well, look us up at thisispawprint@gmail.com. Let us know who you are, and we will take that into consideration. Thanks, and on to the show.
This is Paw Print, an animal rescue community, episode 160. I'm Nancy Rhee.
And I'm Rhee.
Today's talented guest is Bergen Verdu of Jameson Animal Rescue Ranch.
This cat was made to find this little boy and to bring him comfort every night and to show him that the world isn't a mean, scary place, that it can be beautiful.
We're very excited to bring on Bergen Verdu. We interviewed her at the end of the summer last year after Hurricane Harvey created just a historic amount of damage in the Houston, Texas area. She flew from California to Houston to help support the many animals and animal rescue groups. She returned back to Northern California, and a month later, wildfires impacted the Northern California areas of Sonoma and Napa Counties, well known as world-class wine country. Over 6,000 homes were destroyed. At least 40 people died as a result of the wildfires. So we catch up with Bergen and her work at Jameson Animal Rescue Ranch. If you want to learn more about today's episode, go to our show notes at thisispawprint.com/160.
Jameson Animal Rescue is a rescue based out of Napa Valley, actually. And so I know many of my coworkers were affected by it, including one of my coworkers who actually lost her home in the fire. But I was living in Santa Rosa in Sonoma County at the time. And, there was just fires everywhere. So my biggest concern was trying to get to Napa to help my coworkers and all of our foster animals and whatnot. And I physically couldn't get to Napa because every road there was closed with fires. And my fiance works for CAL FIRE, and he had just gotten home from a fire that night. And we were looking around, and there was a lot of smoke in the air. And the next thing I know, he's leaving to go on this fire. And I immediately went into rescue mode, trying to see if I could help any way I could. I ended up at the Sonoma County Fairgrounds helping with animals that were being evacuated, helping them upon intake and treating them medically over there. And it was something that I had never witnessed before. And it was very interesting to see everybody just kind of in this mode, this rescue mode, where you have to do whatever you can to make sure everybody's safe. And it was crazy.
You had been helping out with the hurricane rescue effort in Houston.
Yeah.
If you had any way to kind of compare the two scenarios, what would you say?
It's, I when I was in Houston, I was there for the aftermath of it. And it's very different. And I'm so much more sympathetic now to people that go through hurricanes on a regular basis and through, fires and things like that. But to live through something like that, it was, I think to say traumatizing is an understatement, but I also think that it was a really big wake-up call for at least people here in Napa County and in Sonoma County that it can happen anywhere. Natural disasters don't care how much agricultural developments there are and how rich the community is. Natural disasters will happen wherever.
I have worked in Santa Rosa, and about 2 or 3 weeks after all the fires, or the initial fires happened, I did go visit where I used to work, which that building was okay, but surrounding the neighborhood, I was just, I got a little emotional. It was just so much loss. It was just, the only thing standing were chimneys. Everything else was gone. It's crazy.
It's incredible to see. And I grew up in Sonoma County, actually in the city of Sonoma. And we have countless numbers of family friends that lost something in the fire, whether that was a home or a building on their property, and even some of them animals. And it's just, I think people were not prepared for this at all. And it caught everybody off guard, especially happening, after a lot of people had gone to sleep that Sunday night.
How would you say, in hindsight, communities should better prepare, whether it's for humans and for animals?
I know that everybody's been talking about developing a system where people are alerted on their smartphones, but cell towers go down, so I don't think that that's a good way to do it. So a lot of people were relying on their neighbors who happen to see it. Like I said, my fiance works for Cal Fire, so we heard it over his radio. But I think people always having a go bag. We keep talking about that, and it's so funny to think about, to grab this one bag and just grab your pets and leave your house. But when I was leaving, I grabbed everything for my pets. I grabbed my pets when I was evacuated, and I grabbed butter out of my out of my refrigerator, because I just wasn't really thinking, because you're in flight mode, and that's what I grabbed. And I was happy that I grabbed a sweater. I was able to get back to my house very quickly after we were evacuated, so that was helpful, but there was many people that weren't. So to have those go bags ready, and you can have them ready for you, the rest of your family, but also having them ready for your pets is very important. Tomorrow night, we are actually doing a talk on disaster preparedness through Jameson Animal Rescue Ranch. And it's going to be specifically talking about how to prepare yourself for the next natural disaster, whether that's this year or 10 years from now or 40 years from now. This will be information that people will never forget.
How did animals deal with these fires? How did they survive? Obviously, a lot of losses, but any kind of reflections on that?
Yeah, I think the biggest hit was for wildlife. It destroyed so many acres of their natural habitat that speaking for Napa County, we don't even know what the damage has been done yet for wildlife. I know a few weeks after the injured wildlife kind of started trickling in, and the first set was a set of 3 baby possums that were covered in the fire retardant. And because they had been burned out of their natural habitat, most of everything around them was burnt, and they were just trying to find food, and they actually ended up eating the fire retardant and got really sick. And somebody was able to walk up to them in the middle of the day in a field, pick them up, and bring them to our local wildlife outpost at Silverado Veterinary Hospital. And they were able to be saved, which is fantastic. But it just shows you, wildlife is probably going to have the biggest issue recovering from this. In regards to domesticated animals, again, I don't think people were prepared. And, it happening in the middle of the night, people panicked and were, some people, the fire was 2 houses down from them when they were leaving. And when you have an already frightened cat, trying to find that cat is nearly impossible when you're freaking out. There's so much chaos going on outside. And so unfortunately, I think that's how many people lost their animals in the fire, was that they just simply weren't able to find them in the moment of panic trying to evacuate their home.
Right.
And it's incredibly sad, but again, it's going to prepare us for the next time. Right. And people, not having the proper supplies. A lot of kitties I saw that were missing. It was because people were just picking them up and running them out to their cars because they didn't have crates for them. And I know crates are kind of awkward and take up a little bit of room, but it's a lifesaver. But, again, this talk that we're going to have through Jameson is about, if you don't have a crate, what can you do? You can toss your kitty in a pillowcase. That works well. It's breathable and it's safe for them. It was definitely a hard hit for the domesticated animals, and especially the ones that were in the evacuation shelters. A lot of dogs that were there had never been in crates before, and this is just a great way to work in why crate training your dog is so fantastic, because these dogs that were in the evacuation shelters with their owners had to be in crates unless they were going outside to go to the bathroom. And so, if your dog was already crate trained and used to it and not screaming at the top of its lungs, you probably felt like the best person in there, because there was definitely a lot that were not happy about being in there for the whole entire day.
When people from the outside are wondering, like, why do you have to get out of the house so fast? How fast did the fire travel at its peak, or from what you remember?
I think it traveled faster than anybody could have ever imagined. I remember driving with my fiance to the top of Fountain Grove in Santa Rosa, and you could just see the tiny little glow over in Marquess Springs where the fire originated that night. And about 20 minutes later, we came back and it had moved incredibly fast. And then within a day, the housing development that we were looking out the ridge over was gone.
Right.
So it moved so fast that, again, people just weren't prepared. And during the day, a lot of people weren't home. Right. Some people were on vacation at night. And it just, I can't express, how much it caught people off guard.
Right. I mean, it basically travels as fast as the wind. And that first night, those winds were whipping, 50, sometimes I think even over 60 miles per hour. Well, that's how fast the fire can go. So.
It traveled so fast, right. Incredibly fast.
Wow. So sorry to hear that. Well, we're talking to Bergen Verdu of Jameson Animal Rescue Ranch. Bergen, how long has your fiance been part of CAL FIRE?
He has been with CAL FIRE since 2013, and he is a apparatus engineer with them, and he absolutely loves his job.
Yeah. What would you say his reflection would be? Is this sort of a once in a lifetime type of event?
No, sadly, no, it's not for California anymore. Everybody kept saying, this is kind of the new normal, but it not for Sonoma or Napa County. But I think for him, it just hit home a little bit more because it was in, he's not from Sonoma County, but he's lived here for several years. And this is his second home. And, my family lives here. He's got family that lives here and friends. And he did everything he could to protect everybody here. And I think CAL FIRE did an amazing job.
Yeah. I think what's amazing is that these fires obviously had a lot of headlines, mainly because it was so close to so many people, right? Wine
Absolutely.
Country, San Francisco. But, even before that, I think in Oregon and Washington states, they had some massive fires out there. Obviously not as much newspaper headlines because it wasn't maybe near as many people, but
Correct.
Still just a huge amount of damage.
Yes.
So it's just crazy.
It will always get more publicity when it's closer to civilization rather than if it's just wildlands.
Right. And that doesn't mean that the Napa Sonoma fires were small. They were big. They were big fires.
Yes, they were giant.
Well, listen, why don't we catch up with you on the animal rescue front? I mean, since we last spoke to you, you've done a lot of work with Jameson Animal Rescue Ranch. What highlights would you like to share with us, and what changes in your own role and responsibilities?
Yeah, so I just recently took on the foster program, which is fun. It's very busy. And since we are a foster-based rescue, we are just always searching for families to open up their homes and their hearts to an animal of ours. Right now, I have a foster dog because we don't have anywhere else for him to go. We are kind of lacking in the foster department, but it's great. And I think people are worried that they have to supply things or that maybe they're not home enough. But even if they can just house the dog, we provide everything else. We provide the food, the crate, the toys, the collar, the leash, everything that you can think of, the bedding. And then we can also always provide a dog walker for it, which is really fun. But recently we had a very sweet 1-year-old dog that was found by a gentleman in the next town over while he was actually walking his dog. And this dog just followed him home, and he brought her in his house and he tried to find her owners. And with no luck, he kind of held on to her for 2 months and never really thought about the fact that he had an intact male and that she might not be spayed yet. And unfortunately, they did have an accidental litter. and he reached out to us for help. So we took the dog into our program and took her to our vet to do x-rays just to get a head count of how many puppies we could be expecting. And we left her at our vet overnight. And when they walked in the next morning, they called us and they said, "Oh, you have 9 new puppies here." She had delivered her puppies overnight, and she was just the best mommy. And her name is Cheyenne, and those puppies were fat little roly-polies, and she was fantastic. And this was hopefully her first litter, but definitely her last. Right. And they just all went to their foster to adopt homes this last weekend. So that was great to see them all go. And now it's just mom's turn. We're just waiting for the right family to come along for her.
Right. I love that you're in charge of the foster program. Could you maybe talk a little bit about, the importance of having fosters? How does that really expand the adoption possibilities or the capacity for Jameson Animal Rescue Ranch?
Yeah, we would not be anything without our fosters and our volunteers. Hands down, our programs would not run without them. And we pull a lot of animals from high risk shelters. And we actually have been working a lot up in Lake County, where there are very little resources up there for animals. And so we've been taking many animals from up there. Currently, my foster dog, Isaac, who came from up there, he lived his entire life chained to a dog house, had only been in the car one time in the 4 to 5 years of his lifespan. And we brought him down to Napa, and unfortunately, he is heartworm positive. So he's living at my house, being kept quiet while he's on his treatment. But without fosters, we can't take these dogs in, and we can't pull them from shelters. And so sometimes if rescues can't find fosters, these dogs unfortunately do face euthanasia. And that's heartbreaking, because if nobody steps up, that's the sad reality that many animals, dogs and cats, face. So right. Fosters are our core. Yeah. They're fantastic.
Well, as they say, right, fosters have that positive domino effect. You help take one dog, cat, or other animal out of a shelter, that makes room for another. So
absolutely. That's my philosophy on it. People ask all the time how I don't keep everything, and I'm like, you have to keep going. And it's okay if people foster fail. I call it foster failure, where they end up keeping their foster. That's great too, because they, hands down, they still saved that animal's life.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what folks don't realize is that, yes, you do grow very attached to your animals, even if it's for a couple of days. So it can be tough to let them go, but
absolutely.
But that is the what makes to me and Nancy, that's what makes fostering fun. Is that, yes, there is some heartbreak when we let these cute animals go, but then a couple days later, we fostered more animals, and we're like, they're just as cute. So
yeah, exactly. And a lot of the times too, it's that you meet the people that are adopting these animals, and you're like, okay, this is why they've been in the program so long, because they were waiting for that one person. It's just a perfect match.
Thanks for sharing that. Well, what else have you been doing? We've been keeping you busy, or Jameson Animal Rescue Ranch has been keeping you busy. So.
Oh yeah, we're always busy. We have also our community animal assistance program, which is, that probably keeps me the most busy. So we have now a call center, which is very helpful. So people can call into the call center, and then whoever is working the call center that day, which again is volunteer based, we wouldn't be able to do that without them. And it gets funneled to the appropriate department. So the Community Animal Assistance Program is helping people with medical bills. If their animal is injured, we're helping that. We're giving them resources. A lot of the times recently, we've been getting calls about people wanting to surrender their animals. One recently that sticks out was a very nice woman that had to get rid of her 5-year-old pit bull. And it didn't sound like she was really excited about getting rid of him, which sounds odd, but some people are just like, oh yeah, here's the dog, take the dog, I'm donating it to you. And this woman just seemed so hesitant. And I said, he was having some behavioral issues. And I said, if we provide a trainer for you, would you keep the dog? And she broke down and was like, absolutely, I do not want to get rid of this dog. So now we're helping her train the dog to work through the issues, and that dog gets to stay in the only home he's ever known. So I get to rest my head at night knowing that he's happy with his mom. So we're helping people with rental deposits if they need it, if they're wanting to get rid of their animal just because they can't afford the pet deposit, we're helping them with that. Recently, we had a gentleman reach out to us from Rhode Island that he needed to, his granddaughter was coming to live with him, and her dog was at the Sonoma County Animal Shelter, and he needed help getting the dog to Rhode Island. And so he reached out for help, and we said, of course. So we set up the flight, we bought the crate, and we personally picked the dog up and hand delivered him to San Francisco International Airport, and got a very lovely email from the gentleman that he made a touchdown in Rhode Island, and his granddaughter was over the moon to see her dog again. So things like that are awesome. The best part about my job.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I mean, these community animal assistance programs, they're slowly growing, and they're so important because unfortunately, most rescue organizations are set up in kind of I would argue, like a kind of a two-dimensional way. Like it's like you either adopt the dog or you surrender to the dog. It's like there's no middle ground, and you truly are filling that middle ground or that gray area where sometimes they just need that additional financial assistance or some actual advice that they just didn't know about. And so, what you guys do is so important.
And I did forget to mention, if you don't mind, that a huge part of that program, too, is spay and neuter. Since the beginning of 2018, we've given out over 450 spay and neuter vouchers. So that just to Napa County residents. And that's incredible. And it's very cool that we're able to help those people. And in May, we will be going up to Lake County to do a vaccine clinic and a spay and neuter event. And we actually were granted a $50,000 a $50,000 grant from Too Faced, the makeup company. And we're using that specifically to fix animals in Lake County.
Unbelievable. Yeah. $50,000 grant. That's incredible.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
That's going to fix 500 animals right off the bat. So
I know we've talked about it the last time we had you on, but could you maybe give a little brief commercial on Jameson Animal Rescue Ranch? Because really the organization hasn't been around that long, and yet you've grown by leaps and bounds.
Correct. Yes. So it helps when you're a new rescue and in very close to fire country, you kind of make a name for yourself. So Jameson Animal Rescue Ranch was started by our founder, Monica Stevens, and her husband about 4 years ago. And immediately Lake County, which is just about 40 minutes north of us, caught two major fires back to back. And Jameson Animal Rescue was up there assisting with food evacuations, shelters, sheltering in place up there. And just kind of, to be honest, it spread like wildfire. Our name just got out everywhere. Quickly, it became that, the staff of one became staff of 3 and then staff of 9. And that's where we are today. And we help so many animals every single month. It is incredible. If I could go back through and give you numbers, it would be astronomical, which I think is really, really, really great to be a part of. We have so many fun programs and volunteering opportunities. It's incredible. And the other thing is we're hopefully about to close on a property so that we can make our dreams even bigger.
Nice. What's your hope, or what's the plan?
The plan would be to get a property and, to have animals there that we don't always have to turn people away and say, contact your local shelter, because we have so many people contacting us because we are a no-kill rescue. And people who are surrendering their animals that they love don't want to put them at risk of being euthanized. And so we are contacted a lot. We try to help them find solutions. And when we have room, we do take them in. But because we get so many calls, often the times that we have room are very limited. And so we're referencing them out to their local shelters or other rescues that we partner with. But if we get this property, it will mean that we have to say, no, we can't take your animal in a lot less, which will be great and, definitely help all of us sleep better at night. And then a huge thing that's going to be fantastic at the property is it's a few years down the road, but we want to have an educational program out there and do summer camps and really just educating everybody on everything, why it's important to spay and neuter, why this is the best way to crate train your dog, why you should use this walking utensil on your dog, things like that. And we also do farmed animal rescue. And so the property will be vegan. And we just want to share with people, you don't have to go completely vegan, maybe even vegetarian or cut out your meat by half. But, these animals have purpose and it's not for us to eat. It's for us to enjoy their silly personalities. We currently have a 700-pound pig named Freedom who escaped the slaughterhouse, and she has the best personality. And so she's going to be our piggy ambassador so that when people meet her, maybe they'll think twice about the next time they eat bacon.
So many wonderful programs that Jameson Animal Rescue Ranch provides. How do you try to keep your energy, and how do you try to prevent from burning out?
I drink a lot of coffee. I drink a lot of coffee and
no decaf allowed, sounds like.
No, definitely not. And there's days where you feel so down and you feel like it's not going to get any better. And then I have a day like I did today where we took a homeless woman's dog to the vet because she was concerned that it was sick. And the dog spent the night at the vet. And when we brought her back to her mom, she was happier than any dog I've ever seen get excited to see their owner, and just to help that woman feel at ease that maybe she can't provide medical stuff for her dog, but she can provide a loving environment for her dog. Her dog's current on vaccines, on all medications necessary for our region, and spayed, and is a very healthy weight. I can't complain. And that's what makes my job so worth it. And all those sleepless nights and those days where I just feel like things aren't going to get better, that makes it better.
Okay. What is the best way for folks to get in touch with Jameson Animal Rescue Ranch?
We are most active, I would say, on our Facebook page. So that's just under Jameson Animal Rescue Ranch. And we're in Napa, California.
Okay. And finally, you think about Napa, California, Sonoma, California. I mean, these are home to not only some of the finest wines in California, but literally some of the finest wines in the world. I believe Napa Sonoma is the second most popular tourist destination in California, right behind Disneyland.
Oh my goodness.
So in some ways, I think they call it adult Disneyland, right?
Yes.
So could you maybe give us an update if someone was going to visit Napa and Sonoma? Is it safe to visit? Is Napa, Sonoma, are they open for business?
Oh, absolutely. We are absolutely open for business. Sonoma County and Napa County have bounced back beautifully. And it's even in the areas that there's still some scarring, they're beautiful scars. And it's a time for somebody who is like me from Sonoma County, that it's a time that my community came together and didn't care about what anybody else looked like or who somebody else loved. They helped, and it would be great for you to come visit and help us keep rebuilding, because we'll definitely need it for a few years, but it is beautiful here.
Right. That's right. Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, right, it's whether it's Houston, Southern Florida, Puerto Rico, out here in the Pacific states on the West Coast. I mean, one of the best ways you can support is simply by coming to visit us and spend some money.
Absolutely. And if you guys are in Napa, you can always come to our adoptable cat house, where all of our adoptable cats are just lounging around. They're quote unquote free range. They're not in cages. And we are downtown Napa at 1009 Camas Street. And we're open Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday from 12 to 6 p.m.
Thank you so much for all these updates. It's amazing to catch up with you in just, 6-7 months since we spoke to you. So much has happened.
Absolutely. So much has happened.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's just finish up with a couple of news items. Really, these are just news items that if you go to our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/thisispawprint, these are some of the articles that just got a tremendous amount of engagement, a lot of comments. And I know one that you really liked, Bergen. I'll read off just a little bit and would love your commentary. The headline reads, Maryland woman gives sheltered 26-year-old cat a new home. And so this was something reported on the Fox News website. And when you think about it, it's this woman named Laura Cassidy, who, among other things, I think she actually is an animal rescue worker.
Yes.
She discovers this cat named Thomas and pretty much couldn't let go.
Yeah, that article it's in the rescue world, it's called hospice. So it's foster hospice for your older animals. And hospice ones are the best. Everybody loves puppies and kittens, but the old ones are so great because a lot of the times they have so much life left in them and so much history in their eyes. And those are the ones that really are grateful for the home that you're providing them. And, they might have some medical issues where they tinkle or, they can't control their bowel movements anymore. But because they're so sweet and old, it doesn't even matter. And I think that this woman is probably one of my heroes at this point, because to take a 26-year-old cat in, for the cat to even live to be 26 is incredible. I have a hard time conjuring a thought of how that owner could just leave their animal at a shelter like that. But I'm very happy that this nice woman took this cat in. It's incredible.
Yeah. I think the wonderful thing is that we all have different gifts. We all have different preferences. Of course, most of us are attracted to the cute puppies and the cute kittens. But if you could open up your mind and your heart to our senior animals, it can be just a wonderful experience.
Absolutely. And almost every rescue has a hospice program. I know we have a hospice program through Jameson Animal Rescue Ranch, and it's great. Again, it's just like a regular foster, but these guys generally stay with you until the end of their time. And at that point, if the family wants to stay with them while they make their transition, that's fine. If not, one of the JAR staff members stays with them and helps them through it. And it's just such a special program. One of my coworkers, Dessa, she loves the old kids. She thinks they're great. I've known her for about 6 years now, and I've never seen her without a senior pit bull. And they're always so funny and have so many stories, and half the time they're naughtier than the younger ones getting into things. And it's really great, the stories she has about all her fosters.
Yeah. Amazing. Thanks for sharing that. Just terrific stories. And we could just go on and on, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Well, moving on to the next story, our final story. And this is a story that, it not only got probably the most likes we've had in a few months, but it really has spread to other newspapers, other media outlets, really just found this story so compelling. It's about a boy 7 years old named Madden Humphreys, and he lives in Oklahoma, and he was born not only with a cleft lip, but has a condition where his two eyes have different colors, green and blue in this case. Well, unfortunately, he undergoes some bullying at school. And so his mom, Christina Humphreys, really took it upon herself to speak out about bullying, to speak out about, difference is not bad. It should be celebrated, not made fun of. And of all things, they found a cat in Minnesota who also has two different colored eyes. They made the trip from Oklahoma to Minnesota to adopt this cat, whose name is Moon. And this story has just taken off. I don't know. What do you think? Why is this story so compelling for us?
This is a beautiful story. First of all, it's fantastic. And not only does the cat have the same color eyes as the boy. But she also was born with a cleft lip, just like he was.
Yeah.
And so it's just very cool. And I think that this story took off because we're in a time right now where bullying is in children and in adults is starting to come to light more. But it's affecting children now with social media so much more harsh than it was 10, 15 years ago. And the fact that this woman had social media to speak out about her child's bullying is great. And it brings awareness to the fact that, we need to teach our children to be kind to one another. And then you look at this cat that probably, again, would have had a hard time getting adopted because sometimes people want the cat to look perfect. And this cat has 2 different colored eyes and a cleft lip. So again, thinking that back to when you have an animal for so long in your program and then that perfect person comes along. And again, you think, wow, this is why it took so long. I think that's one of those stories that this cat was made to find this little boy and to bring him comfort every night and to show him that the world isn't a mean, scary place, that it can be beautiful. And I think that that's going to be a lifelong friendship that he will never forget. I sure won't.
Right. Yeah. And and the photos are just so beautiful. It's hard to describe. It is kind of tough to take your eyes away from staring at these photos.
Yeah, no, they're beautiful. The look on that child's face is, he looks complete and he looks happy and he looks like he doesn't have a care in the world. And if he is having a bad day, he has a friend that he can come home and talk to and that will comfort him. And I think it's so important for children to grow up with pets because it teaches them such a great sense of responsibility. He's taking care of this cat and feeding it and changing its litter box and giving it water and love and attention. And in return, that cat is doing nothing but giving him unconditional love. And I think that that's a fantastic lesson for young children to learn.
Right. And once again, kudos to his mother, Christina. Really, it's obviously an inspiration to a lot of parents out there who may have children who also suffer from bullying.
Absolutely. And Christina, thank you for choosing to adopt for your son.
Absolutely. And for those of you who want to know, the name of the condition is called heterochromia iridum, which obviously has something about, I don't know, there's probably like 3 SAT words stuck in that condition. But
exactly.
All right. Well, thanks for going over those stories. Thanks for all your work for Jameson Animal Rescue Ranch, and thanks for being on the show. Really, floor is yours. Anything else that you'd like to share with us, Bergen?
Oh, man, if you guys are looking for great animals, please check with your local shelters or give me a call at Jameson Animal Rescue Ranch. I'd be happy to set you up with the perfect animal. And I can't thank everybody enough out there for whoever they are fostering for. Just thank you for opening up your hearts and your homes to it, because these rescues and these shelters couldn't do it without you.
We just want to say thank you to Bergen Verdu of Jameson Animal Rescue Ranch for sharing her story. One finding from the many wildfires here in Northern California sounds like power lines have been pointed to as the cause of these wildfires. Unfortunately, the great majority of wildfires are caused by humans. And as we approach the summer months in the Northern Hemisphere, take Bergen's advice, create a go bag, and always be prepared in case of an emergency, because oftentimes you only have a minute to make a decision. If you want to learn more about today's episode, go to our show notes at thisispawprint.com/160. You can find me and Nancy on social media. Find us on Facebook and Instagram. Look for This Is Paw Print, all one word. If you'd like to listen to more episodes of Paw Print, you can find us on your favorite podcast app, such as Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Search for Paw Print Animal Rescue and make sure to hit the subscribe button to get the latest episodes immediately. Join us next time when we interview Sophie Gamond, the photographer and artist behind Pitbull Flower Power. She just started a Kickstarter campaign, and you won't want to miss what she's learned about herself and her art in our next episode with her. And remember, you spread a positive message of love and peace by saving an animal. Have a great day, everyone. And see you next time on Paw
Paw Print
Print.
is a production of EVER Education.
You can't handle the truth.